Hello. Um, it's coming to the end of November, which is crazy, but I have something I need to say. And I'll tell you about it after, I just need to get it off. It's about like high art. And I'll explain it after, but I'm thinking about what what is high art? I don't know. But albums where the artist is at a peak. Well, what does it mean to me? It means sort of, the way I'm thinking about it is where all the songs are like sort of individual, but they all work toward a greater, where the sum is greater than the parts, but also, that it's like important in that it asks a lot of, that it makes statements about society and it asks questions about it, and it is it's something that you probably couldn't, it's like an absolute peak, and perfection. So not in everything's perfect kind of way, but in a sort of like you can't really do it too much. Like it takes a lot of work, like an insane amount. And for example, I don't think the Rolling Stones ever did that. I don't think they ever have something like that. I think that, so I was thinking, I can only think of a few examples. I'm on my computer right now. I'll see what I can remember. I don't think Queen ever did it either. Maybe on an individual song or something, but I'm talking about an album. I'm on the fence about Simon Garfunkel. I think Bridge Over Troubled Water, and maybe Bookends. I don't know. They're in the ballpark, but I don't think either of them are cohesive enough to merit what I'm talking about. I don't think Neil Young. Who do I think? I think The Wall by Pink Floyd. I need to, and I don't even listen to them much anymore at all. Although I like more their early album. But I think The Wall. And I don't mean the albums have to be concept albums or rock operas like that one is. But I mean they just have to really, really work. And extra if they play an important thing in society, but that's not really necessary. But do you sort of understand what I mean by this? Because I feel like it's sort of, it's not totally objective, but it's a bit closer than this is my favorite. I think I'm not, I can only talk about albums that I know pretty well, or understand pretty well. Some I just don't understand. Yeah. Maybe Lou Reed's done it. I've heard good things about New York, but I haven't analyzed it myself. And maybe Transformer and maybe Berlin. I don't know. I don't know. They're possible. Most likely New York, but they're possible. And I don't really think the Velvet Underground debut, but it's also possible. I don't know about Leonard Cohen. I don't know him well enough. I think Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix does it, but in a sort of different way. In a sort of unusual way, but I think that, like, there are songs that don't really work, but I think it's... Well, okay, here. I'm sort of thinking of like an almost unparalleled, full manifestation of a complete and thorough creative vision. It's also, original or whatever. Well, what am I to talk about originality? But I think that. And I think asks lots of like questions about society and says stuff about society too. Or, art stuff. And also, and yeah, there's other stuff, like it probably comes from somewhere. But The Wall and Electric Ladyland, those are the ones that I know of so far. American Beauty by the Grateful Dead is also in the ballpark, but I don't think it would make it. I don't know about Zappa. I doubt anything by Fleetwood Mac. No, probably not. I don't think anything by The Doors. If it would be something, it'd be their debut, but I don't think so. Bowie. I think the only one with a chance for Bowie would be Scary Monsters, but I don't know that one too well yet. I'm talking about albums like that I feel like I like really understand them. Here, Not the Birds. Maybe Tramp Mask Replica by Captain Beefheart, but I don't know enough about it. Dylan. He might have a number of these. I know Blood on the Tracks. Of the albums that are contenders, I know it the best. Like, I mean, what I mean by that is like, I know Pat Garrett and New Morning a bit better, probably. Well, I know Pat Garrett a bit better, probably. But I don't think it does that. But I think Blood on the Tracks probably does something like that. And maybe, his, like, and maybe a few albums from his freewheeling to Blonde on Blonde era, but I'm not really sure. And maybe some stuff later. I don't really know, but he's definitely up for contender. And I think Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles. Although I feel that one's almost unintentional. Like, I think they had a number of, like, peaks at the time. And it just turned out that I don't think they meant to do it. But I think they sort of just wrote a bunch of songs that sort of play into those aspects. Like, She's Leaving Home is about, like, maturity and, like, making, like, separating you from, like, where you come from. And, like, Getting Better is something like, like, they all, like, do it, but I think it's unintentional. I don't know if it completely works, but I think that they reach enough other peaks, like production and everything, that it's what I'm talking about. It's sort of like reaching like the maximum possible tier that they could reach. I'm not entirely sure, but I think Pet Sounds also either does it or gets really close. And although it was never finished, I think Smile might have come pretty close as well, or reached it, but on account that not all the lyrics are there, like for Do You Like Worms and Child is Father of the Man? Old Master Painter? I think those are the only ones with missing lyrics. I'm not too sure. I think ABBA... I think ABBA get their closest on The Visitors, but... I'm hesitant to say it, but I think they do reach it. Or they do something thoroughly unique. I've heard good stuff about Easter Everywhere by the 13th Floor Elevators, but I can't say anything myself about that. Let me just check through all this again. I love Child's Play by Alice Phoebe Lou, but I don't think it does that quite. Maybe Elton John on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, but I really, apart from a few hits, I barely know the album, and I don't really know what the song... If he writes the songs as like pop song, well, Taupin, I guess. Writes the songs as like pop songs, or if they have like deeper meanings, you know, like what they like represent for the artist or whatever. I know early on they definitely didn't. Maybe some stuff by George Harrison, but I'm not too sure. Maybe Yake had a number of them. I barely know anything, but maybe Gordon Lightfoot. But no. Okay, I know a few hits, and, you know, Summertime Dream, is that the one? Fitzgerald? And that one doesn't do it. Maybe Lennon with Plastic Ono Band, but maybe not. Like, it's iffy territory, that's for sure. And there are lots of artists I know of that I'm not mentioning because I'm pretty sure they don't, like the Byrds. Or, you know, Country Joe and the Fish or something. But or Harry Nilsson, or maybe Love Do It. You know, I've also heard good things about Forever Changes, but I don't know if it does that, for sure. The Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. I don't think it does it. I think it's sort of trying to do it, but it's premature or something. It's the only album of theirs I'm a bit familiar with. No, I don't think... I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I don't think Nick Drake does it. I don't think Paul McCartney solo does it. As much as I love him, I don't think that's on the cards. Unless maybe one of his later albums, but I don't really know. Who else is there? Sigur Rós. I can't speak for that. I'm not Icelandic. The Stooges. Not the Stooges. I sort of thought of them, but no. Yeah, well, the ones I know for sure are The Wall by Pink Floyd. I don't really think their other albums either. I feel like their other albums are trying to fit too much into... Yeah, also that you can read a lot out of them. Like, you can take them any which way and read them. I think being in university is definitely helping me come up with this. But there have to be a number of different ways. What it means has to be open, at least a bit. has to be at least somewhat open for interpretation. Like I think Pepper, the Beatles one, is it can be in there because it's quite open to interpretation. Even if I'm not sure that it was intended to be like that, but I think it is. Whereas, yeah, that makes it easier. Open to, like, I'm not sure Electric Ladyland is that open to interpretation, but I think it's a bit different. But I think it still nonetheless attains that level, or something similar to it. I'll just check the rest of the music that I think I know. See if there's anything. Not Buddy Holly. Maybe, there's stuff I can't speak for at all, like, John Coltrane or something, like, maybe he's done something like that. I've heard good things about his stuff, but I don't really know. Kanye? I don't know. But that would be kind of funny. Like, I don't think Fleetwood Mac could do it because I don't think their stuff is open enough to interpretation. But I think production also sort of plays a part in it. But maybe not necessarily. I think production helps. And I think, the Beatles were at a peak in production. On Pepper, that's for sure. Like, the only other things that matched are, like, Abbey Road and Magical Mystery Tour. I don't think either of them, you could read as much into them, and they're as cohesive and finished pieces of work. Well, Abbey Road's finished, but I don't think it's, I don't think the lyrics were quite as good. Dare I say. Yeah, I don't know what else I can add, or I feel like I can say anything about it. Maybe a song with Joni Mitchell. But I feel like not really. This must be pretty boring. As much as I love the later Bird stuff, I don't think not Bird's Beach Boys stuff, I don't think they could do it. After Pet Sounds and Smile. They just weren't cohesive enough. No, I don't think this is really going nowhere. Alright, just last ones. Yeah. No. So let me just restate the... This is taking forever. How long is this? Goodness, 18 minutes. 19 almost. And maybe, there's a riot, some soul stuff riot going on with Family Stone or whatever. But I think, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder, but it hasn't really clicked with me yet. But I think it's definitely doing that. It might be a bit too on the nose. Whatever. It's up there, but it's not as up there as some other things. Songs in the Key of Life, The Wall by Pink Floyd. The Wall by Pink Floyd. Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. Experience. Well, maybe you could read stuff really deeply into that, actually. But in unintended ways, like with Pepper. Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. And Smile If It Was Finished. Which it wasn't. So I'm not talking about the official version of Smile from like 2011. I'm not talking about that. Certainly not that one. Certainly not. Pass the Kona Band by John Lennon. All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. And I think that's all I can speak for. I think that's all I can speak for. Actually, I'll pull back Pet Sounds. I don't think I know it well enough. Oh god, I'm on the fence. No, I'm including it. It's staying in. It's staying in. There's definitely unspoken meanings and things. Intended or not, I don't know. Maybe the Kinks did it, but I've got no idea. On Village Green, like, it certainly asks questions about society. But is it the peak? Is it the peak? And whatever the other ones were. I sort of think that out of all the albums I'm considering, the production's the worst. Because it's really clunky. And 60s in not the best ways. But I don't think I know the rest of their work well enough, because it's the only album I'm a bit familiar with. Fairly familiar with, I'd say. This is all older stuff. I don't really know what modern artist does it. Like, I'm thinking about the war on drugs, but I don't even know what they're singing about. So I don't know if the songs are lyrically cohesive and work with one another. Oh, and I'll say Blood on the Tracks. Preemptively, but I think it doesn't. And Highway 61, Highway 61 Revisited, I was thinking it might be 51, and yeah, I'll say that. I won't say Blonde on Blonde yet. And I won't say Bringing It All Back Home. No, I will. 4 albums from Dylan, that's a record, in my book, and maybe more. But, you know, he was certainly an artist. But I'm not familiar enough with them. I need to be. And yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. How I got there was I was listening to The Visitors by ABBA for the first time in a long time, and a little bit of a late ABBA kick lately. Why I can't quite remember, but oh, yeah, I remember now. But I'm checking out other things, of course, but I'm coming back to them a little bit. And I listened to a bit of Super Trooper today as well, and it's not as good as The Visitors. It's not cohesive. I don't think The Visitors asks the questions. Like, there's certainly songs that involve bigger things than very personal. Like feelings and relationship things. Like, you know, Two for the Price of One in like a societal way. Soldiers in an even bigger sense, and The Visitors title track in a geopolitical sense, but I don't think you can read enough, and there could be like multiple different really deep readings with different results coming from them. Like, I don't think they ask the questions, is what I'm saying. But in the other ways, it's sort of like, in other ways, I think it's very much a peak. Like, I don't think that, like, I think their songwriting's as good as it's ever been. I think their production's as good as it's ever been. As in, some of their best. But I think the lyrics mostly, it's like coming together. They're not really making pop songs. You know, they're making a really cohesive album that has a lot of themes running off the way through it. But I don't think those themes ask the big enough questions. But so I was listening to that, and at the same time reading a really lengthy review. I did an era, like about a year ago now, was when I know it was happening. And then it stopped. But it was sort of, like, I was really into, like, reading reviews of music, even though most of them were really bad. Like, I only like them if they are, like, extremely thorough, like, love letters to the album that are really, like, not academic, but, you know, it's not Pitchfork or AllMusic or whatever. Although I kind of like all the AllMusic ones. They're sort of like, they don't try and do very much. They just sort of, you know. But, like, I found some different reviewers that did them, but I ended up feeling unsatisfied. But there was this one on, like, The Long Review or something like that, The Long Story, something, and they have, like, different writers and stuff. But there's this one about The Visitors that was really long. At one point, I read the lyrics, and they immediately, like, one or 2 seconds later, like, I heard them. But that was really good. And then Slipping Through My Fingers made me cry. And Like an Angel Passing Through My Room is beautiful, and like they create such imagery. Like I'm not sure they do otherwise. But it doesn't ask the questions, I don't think. Like I don't think you can read the things in really profound ways apart from like really affecting emotional ways. But I mean, like, art, like many layers. I don't think there are many layers to the lyrics. Although there are some. I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, so I was reading a review on that, and then I listened to a bit of Super Trooper, and it wasn't as good. I listened to like a mini album I put together of the songs I made afterward, nowhere near as good. Which sort of makes me reevaluate why I think of those songs as so important, and like they should be, treated better. Like they should, like, some of them, like one of the songs from that period hasn't even been released in full. But They should probably like have an album together or something, just a short one. Maybe use a few other like older songs. B-sides only filmed 30 minutes, which is weird. B-sides and outtakes, but I heard it click, so I stopped talking around then. But yeah. Oh yeah, so I forgot how much I said. I read a review and I listened to those. But anyhow, I haven't filmed. This is the first like thing I've like filmed for like a video in a long time. Since sometime in like early September probably. But I've certainly filmed a bunch. Like I filmed a lot right when I got here and stuff. But I'm waiting till Christmas till I can edit it together. And there's still that video from when I visited Jesse's house. But yeah, that's what's going on. Recording, yes. Yeah, so I'll try and get those done. But I don't know, I need more creative outlets, I think. Like I feel like I don't really have like the energy to like do anything big. Even though I do. And also the time. But more than like I feel like it'll like distract me from doing the actual stuff. Whereas this is what's distracting me right now. But yeah. Oh, here I'll do a little room video. So this is my room on November 23rd or so. It's like the third to last week of classes, which is crazy. Then there's exams. So I got this Bowie poster, which is cool. Like you can see the floor thing, and his face is different. But it's stuff in here. Don't mind the makeup. And then I put up these like Van Gogh things on the wall. And posters. My little rock thing, which I've had since like summer 2018 when I got it in England broke. The view out here. It snowed. It snowed a Wednesday or two ago. And there's this, we're not usually allowed there, but the gate's open. And I've got a little plant, I think cardamom or coriander or something. And I got this dollar store Christ religious thing. Fitting since I'm in a nunnery. Chair. That's Betty, if you haven't met her. You know, the panda, red panda. This is, oh no. It's, I'll enter the name in editing or in the, you know, the description. Bit of stuff, more posters I have to put up, some tea, some CDs. I picked up some while I was here. Those ones I brought over, the last ones. Buddha Snatch, yeah. And poster clothes, shoes. Yeah, it's getting colder. I won't show you the weed. But yeah, that's where things are at the moment. And I'm looking forward to going home, but I've got a bunch of work to do still. As much as I sort of don't want to do it. My stomach's been quite off lately as well. Like the last few weeks. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyhow, toodles. Just to make the editing job harder for myself, I'm going to film a third bit. Just quickly. I think that the wall is... I just keep thinking about it. I think the wall is, like, you know, Pink Floyd, like, they're, like, Big Five. Like, you know, Dark Side to Final Cut. I think that's the one because while Waters is trying to, like... You know, he's saying specific things about... Like, I think the others are too on the nose. They're on the nose too much that you can't read them in a bunch. You can't, like, really, like, dig into them. Because they're just saying what they mean. Like Dark Side of the Moon certainly... Like, they all have, like, implications. But I don't think they're big enough that you could really, like, work on them. But I think The Wall is just so sprawling that and so and it has that specific mix of it's like a personal experience, but it's also interlocked with like what society's doing, and how it, and like what everything represents and stuff. I think that it really, really gives place, like you can really like read into it because there's just so much. And I think with Bowie, although I'm not sure, but I think his albums that would be Scary Monsters and also Lodger. I'm not counting it out. And maybe Ziggy, but maybe not. Maybe a bunch of his albums. I'm not really sure. But I think the ones with the highest chance are Ziggy, Young Americans, as the person's in the Visitors review, maybe disco can sometimes be high art. I don't even know if this is the right word for it, but it's the best one I can think of. Low battery. Not Diamond Dogs. It's too specific. I don't know about Station to Station, but I kind of doubt it. I'm not sure about Low, because the lyrics are so vague. And I'm not sure about Heroes either, but maybe. I feel like it's either a bit too on the nose or a bit too just writing about something else, I don't know. But those three, and maybe Aladdin Sane, but I also doubt it. Young, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say 4. And maybe his later stuff, but I'm not totally sure. Maybe Black Star, 5. I've heard good things about that one. But, yeah. And I think Hendrix, it doesn't give you as much reading room, but it is such a thorough and complete creative vision execution that I think it's so unique and so so personal in profound and roundabout ways, not on the surface, that I think it gets to go in there too. And a product of its era and important in its era and stuff. Same with a lot of the other like more psychedelic ones in The Wall. That had a big impact, like Pepper and such. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave it there.